On this Memorial Day, remember the fallen, honor their service and honor their sacrifice, and rejoice in your freedom. In today's video, I would like to focus on honoring the service of those who fought the war before the war in their minds, the one that would have told them to flee in the face of certain danger. Yet they chose, and they sacrificed all. They would not want us, those remaining, to allow the enemy to creep within and to lose that war they fought for. Marcus Tullius Cicero once said, "The enemy is within the gates. It is within our own luxury, our own folly, our own criminality that we have to contend. This is the great war we are destined to fight." I would like to highlight 5 channels, actually 6, that I have in my featured channels list because each one of them has demonstrated the ability to win the war before the war, meaning the war with oneself, the war to make it all be about oneself and not the greater good. The first stop I would like to make would be the Patriot Nurse. I've talked about her for a long time, but I would like to share a small, about 1 to 2 minute clip of a video she did back in 2014 that details prophetically what we're going to be facing in the next few years.
To answer this question, I'm going to ask you another question. Are you more likely to save somebody's life, especially somebody that you love, with your high-speed operator skills, pinkies out, otherwise doesn't count, high-speed operator skills, or your medical skills? Overwhelmingly, in everyday life, you're more likely to save somebody's life with your medical skills. And it's not just me saying that. There are many reputable firearms and combatives instructors throughout the community who make this point in their classes, that it's not enough just to have high-speed operator skills and be able to clear your malfunction very effectively in X number of seconds. Nope, not enough. You need medical skills to complement your training. I would submit that it's not enough just to have tactical medicine skills and be able to address, hemorrhaging and alternative airways and stuff. That is important, but we need to be realistic about what's going on in everyday life.
Now that was the key point right there. The realism of what was going on in everyday life in 2014 was very different than what's going on now. Right now, the major medical issue that you would be likely to encounter in people isn't a chest wound, isn't a broken bone. It's mental illness, and your command of psychology and psychiatry will be critical in saving your life and the lives of those around you. See, this is the major shift, and the Patriot Nurse 7 years later confirms this. In this particular video, the title, "No, You're Not Crazy for Standing Firm, the Rest of the World is Nuts." And this is what's going on right now. Mental illness is being mainstreamed and has been for a long time. Now it's just reaching a level where it's starting to get dangerous. What if you had the ability to know where the button was, to turn them off, to direct them to another place, to distract them long enough to retreat, just by using psyops, just by using psychology, the basic fundamental tactics? Ladies, what if you were cornered? What if it came down to you or them? I've shown this image from Black Sails before. It's just representative. What if you had the ability to just use certain sly, subtle tactics and techniques to give you just enough time to distract and escape? Would that be worth it to you? See, I'm not saying don't get trained. Absolutely get trained. Absolutely be prepared. But it's not going to be, just like the Patriot Nurse said, just about that. It won't be enough. And she even said it won't be enough way back in 2014. Now, here's the part that's going to kind of blow your mind a little bit. What was the failure in Uvalde? The failure happened in between the ears of all of those who stood outside and didn't go in. See, they were prepped. Body armor, sidearms, Kevlars. Where did all of the failure come? Between the ears. That's right. They could not win the war before the war. The one in their minds. And that's why what happened in Uvalde happened. Wasn't a matter of preparation. Wasn't a matter of training. It was psychology. The command of the mind. That's why the military focuses on it. Said before, I'm not a super soldier, never was. Not a door kicker, not a sniper, not a SEAL, Delta Force, Ranger, none of that. But I was trained in the command of the mind, where the levers and buttons and switches are to control people. This was my job. And believe me, after I left, this entire field ballooned up huge to where there's so many different layers and commands now, I wouldn't even recognize it. But it all does boil down to the fundamental 24 cognitive biases and 24 logical fallacies. This is the brickwork, so to speak, of that building. They failed between the ears. No other place. The one guy who went in and took the shooter out won the war before the war, and all he needed was a pair of dad jeans and a rifle. That's it. That's why I talk about Patreon. $1 a month. Not a year, a month. Even less if you sign up for an entire year. The next quote, the best women always go to those men who show perseverance. There's no better example of this, of winning the war before the war, so to speak, than Tim Bassett. He was been my viewer for a long time. He's just started up his own channel on both Instagram and YouTube. And it's really great stuff. But everything that he shows requires something before, a command of the mind. You can show the exercises, you can show the workouts. And this is the real key here about the war before the war. Who do you think you would more likely encounter in your daily basis? I know this is two extremes. But in North America, you're more likely to encounter somebody in your everyday life that is more toward the left here side of the spectrum than the right side of the spectrum. Because this is somebody who has command of their mind, who has perseverance and discipline. Here's somebody who doesn't, who is mentally ill by any stretch of the imagination. Mentally ill first. Take away the mental illness, everything else takes care of itself. Take away the mental illness, and everything else takes care of itself. This is a sign of a certain psychology. This is another reason I have this as one of my featured channels. Because while it doesn't say this is the psychology, it is the psychology. Both Instagram and YouTube. Brand new videos up today, by the way. A nation can survive its fools, and even the ambitious, but it cannot survive treason from within. An enemy at the gates is less formidable, for he is known and carries his banner openly, but the traitor moves amongst those within the gate freely. His sly whispers rustling through all the alleys, heard in the very halls of government itself. I know this is 3 quotes from the same guy, but it all applies. The next channel, somebody who's won the war before the war, Jennifer LaFontaine. Now, she hasn't put up a lot of videos recently, but the point is, she could have, and she would have had every right to. See, she lost her monetization, almost lost her channel completely, because she did something right. She offered medical advice that had been good medical advice for a long time prior to 2020. And she stood by a Pentecostal preacher in Louisiana named Tony Spell, who was continuing to hold services even through the 2020 lockdown, in defiance of his own governor, by the way. And guess what? 13 May 2022, COVID orders violated Pastor Tony Spell's freedom of religion. Read civil rights violation. Louisiana's Supreme Court says, see if Tony Spell and his congregation were the petulant types, every single one of them could go after Governor John Bell and the state of Louisiana for damages in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars based on this ruling. Jennifer LaFontaine covered this in detail during this time. She lost her monetization, shadow banning. It was her primary source of income. And on top of that, she was doing videos while having a teenage daughter and 2 grade school boys at home. Talk about discipline. Talk about integrity. And talk about self-restraint. See, since the 13th of May, there have been almost no videos from Jennifer LaFontaine. Just this one about a day ago. But none of it has to do with the fact that she was right. She was right, and the Supreme Court of a state has upheld the fact that she was right. Tony Spell was right. See, this is discipline. This is control of the mind. This is another reason I say listen to Jennifer LaFontaine. Southern Prepper 1 has been doing videos about prepping for a decade, at least. And he has almost lived his life as if he were already in a grid down situation. This level of perseverance, the psychology behind it, to put your life, literally your own life, on hold, to go through this and test things and adjust the nuts and bolts, so to speak, of prepping and shit hits the fan survival advice the way this guy does it. The information he's put out is invaluable. I've thought about purchasing a separate hard drive just to try to download all of his videos. Seriously. To have it's literally an entire encyclopedic compendium of about every possible topic you could cover. Every single day, he's putting up multiple videos. Every single day. Going back weeks, going back months, going back years. I don't know that there's a topic he hasn't covered. Another great resource, because you're going to see this a lot more and more. This is really one of the root seeds of all mental illness. This is how mental illness starts. Narcissism. When it starts to be about you only, and just you, and you'll start to see people using me, I, me, I did, I did this. That's how you can tell a narcissist, when it's all about them, by name. Surviving Narcissism with Dr. Les Carter. One of the most excellent resources for dealing with psychology in your life and protecting yourself from those who would do you harm. And one final one that's not actually on the list, it didn't show up, BP Earthwatch has been diligently following weather and things with the sun. The diligence level here is just amazing. They took away his main channel and he rebuilt another one. It's really incredible to see. This new channel isn't nearly as big as his other one, but that's what they're doing now. They're slamming the door at a certain amount of subscribers. You see, this is why I've talked about changing psychology sometimes between men and women, because we can't do it all by ourselves. We'll never survive lone wolf. They'll just pick us off one by one. So sometimes you may have to make decisions in ways that you never made them before, because you'd have to use different criterion and different methodology with a different set of values once you learn to control the psychology. This scene from Jericho where they're all in the bar waiting on the TV to tell them what to do after all the nuclear weapons went off is something I could probably do a whole video on. Sitting around drinking in a bar while I forget how many dozen nuclear weapons have gone off around the country and waiting for the TV to tell them what to do. Psych 101. It's just unbelievable. So I will leave it there, but happy Memorial Day. I know people don't like people saying that, but be blessed and be happy and be uplifted, because those who've fallen would want that. They would absolutely want that. But they would also want us to be diligent and to maintain our minds and win that war before the war. God bless. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.